1,000 thank yous to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get a free Skillshare premium membership trial so you can explore your creativity. So you want to learn how to edit Instagram Reels videos. Maybe something like this, or maybe something like this? Well, today I'm going to show you 4 ways you can edit your Instagram Reels videos. Intro. Salutations everybody, Benjamin Brandon here. Welcome back to another Instagram Reels tutorial. Let's get into the 4 ways you can edit some fire Reels. The first 2 ways will be within Instagram itself, so let's get into it. The first way is to edit your Instagram Reels while creating your Instagram Reels. And for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, especially if you're a TikTok user. Now, it is important to know what you're trying to create before actually creating it. That way you understand what types of clips you're actually trying to record. For shooting clips on the fly, it's as simple as going into Reels and tap and hold record to start recording, and then let go of record to stop. Now that functionality creates a clip within your reel. You will then continue on recording and then stopping to add to your reel. You can see the duration of your clips on the top of the screen, in which every white little marker that you see there represents the end of a clip, and your clip is defined as what's in pink. To the right of that marker, if you see any empty space, that means you have some more time to shoot another clip. So here I am trying to create a popular trend of a mirror effect, in which you shoot several takes, jump cutting to different scenarios, all while shooting in front of a mirror. After each clip, I review it and then use the trimming functionality. To do so, you'll tap and drag either in the front of your clip or at the end of your clip. Time it to where you get it right, and you typically will do this to get rid of dead air, or usually the action of hitting stop on the record button. That happens a lot. The cool part with Reels is the clips will stay in place until you record the next clip. So something that I like to do is interject an effect within my clips. So using this effect here, I choose the effect and hit record. When it comes to this method, think about each clip as a scene within your reel. And voila, you get something like this. And those are your basic editing capabilities within Instagram Reels while creating your reel. Now, let's say you have pre-recorded clips that you've already taken on your phone, and you want to add those into a reel. You start by simply swiping up and find your video clips and select them. Now, the only editing options you really have here is trimming these particular clips. So when you do upload multiple clips, you can see here they are segregated on the bottom, so you can trim them if you need to one by one. So this is obviously the method you would use if you were shooting something on your phone app. Maybe you caught something really cool in the moment, or you just didn't think about opening Instagram up first. Your pre-recorded clips can be inserted into Instagram Reels, and you can trim them and whatnot. Now the downside to editing in Reels is you don't have an option to cut. Meaning what? You can only adjust the beginning or the end of your clip. You can't cut in the middle and cut here to get rid of that shaky movement that you did, or that time where you accidentally popped up the selfie camera and you look like this. It's happened to us all. But there is a way around that, showing you the next way you can edit your Instagram Reels. Now, as I've heard of this app before, I never used it, and I've never been someone to edit on my phone, but it's a dope app, and it's called Lumafusion. So let me quickly show you what you can do with this app to enhance your Instagram Reels. So I'm just gonna highlight a couple things that I use on Lumafusion that enhances my Instagram Reels just with editing on my phone. This you see is Lumafusion. It is just like Final Cut Pro. First thing I'm gonna do is head to the bottom, hit this plus sign right here, create my project. Lumafusion is pretty smart. It understands the resolution and the aspect ratio of your video already, so it just formats for it, which is dope. All right, let's import some footage. Tap on the 3 dots. It's always the 3 dots, you know what I'm saying? So now I can see all my photos and video. I'm gonna go ahead and select 3 of these guys. Tap and drag my first one onto the timeline there. And you can see that Lumafusion is already formatting my vertical video into a vertical timeline. So now the one thing that we don't have in Instagram Reels and whatever minute editing they give us is a cut, as I mentioned. So I know I have quite a few amount of cuts that I need to do here, so let me quickly do that. I start off with a blank face, and then my reaction starts to go about here. So I'm gonna put my timeline there and simply hit the scissor, and that cuts it. And then I know my clip ends right about here with the motion blur right there. So then I'll do that again. And I can take these little trash clips and trash them. Tap that, trash that. All right, next clip. Find my motion blur. You guys are looking at a prime example of what you can do with whip transitions, by the way. The highest motion blur is where you want to cut. So I'll do that. That's my trash clip. Boom. And then this is what I have so far. Whoa, that's one whip. Let me just go over here, find the next transition. Got my peak motion blur, cut, and trash. Boom. So here's that transition. Yep, that's super clean. Now, the other great thing on Lumafusion that I absolutely love is this zoom in technique that I use all the time. It's so important. I'll explain it more when I show you how to do it on my computer. But you can do it in Lumafusion, and essentially what you're doing is pulling someone into your subject, whether it's you or a microphone or your computer or whatever. You're able to zoom in to bring more attention to that subject. So let me show you how to do that. Let's go to my first clip. I obviously have a pretty reactionary type face right here, so I want to zoom in on this. So right now, it's just a regular old static shot. What I'll do is I'll double tap. This brings up your effects editor, which you can do a whole bunch of things on. But for the zoom in, I'm gonna go here, find zoom in, and it automatically sets keyframes. Yes, there's keyframes in Lumafusion, which is, if you're an editor, it's on your phone now, it's crazy. So by default, it's pretty cool. I'm gonna make it a little bit more dramatic. So I'm gonna up the size some, and then reposition my face while going into a vertical center frame like that, and then you get this. Something so small yet so powerful, it literally just draws you into my face and my reaction to keep the audience watching. The last thing I'm gonna do to just create a quick yet quality reel is to color correct. You can also color grade in here as well, which is crazy, there's LUTs. But I'm just gonna go simple, I'm gonna correct a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and double tap. And by default, you have a bunch of color presets. Let me get a still image, there you go. So these are decent presets or whatnot, and you can kind of use one as a kind of like a guideline. I like the vibrance one, which already you can see a pop. At this point, I'm gonna adjust it to my liking and then mess around until I get what I want. So that is what I'm currently working with, which is pretty crazy considering. So here's the before, and here's the after. Night and day, fam. Ooh. And this is what I made. Now, by trade, I create all of my commercial work and most of my personal work on my computer. But I'm starting to find myself in situations in which I am not at my computer, but I need to get some content out. And everything I just showed you on Lumafusion, I learned on Skillshare. I stumbled upon this Lumafusion for Beginners class by Lance Tegner, and I was like, dope. A couple hours later, and after a cup of coffee, I got out of the learning matrix that is Skillshare and became equipped to edit my reels on my phone. I think the best thing I took away from this class was the ability to color correct on my phone. Oh, and apply that zoom in effect that I use in every other video when I edit on my computer. I can now do that on my phone. Yes! With Skillshare, you can find inspiration in the moment and learn how to express your creativity, just like I did. It's curated specifically for learning, so there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it's as cheap as boxes of macaroni and cheese, less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. But you can try out Skillshare Premium membership for free simply by clicking the link in the description. I seriously had no idea how to edit on my phone before that class. Now let's talk about what you need to do to edit your Instagram Reels on your computer. Before I jump into Final Cut, all the things that I'm about to show you are very basic video editing application functionalities. Whether it's Premiere, Filmora, or Sony Vegas, is that still around? You'll be able to do this. First thing I do is create a vertical timeline, of course, which is super simple in Final Cut, but for just any software, here's what you do. Create your new project and make sure your resolution is 1080 by 1920. Flip it around to what you see here. So I'm gonna go to Format, Custom, and then flip the numbers around, 1920. And that creates your vertical timeline. Now, for Final Cut users, you can just hit vertical and then choose your resolution. If you shot 4K, go to 2160. If you're in HD or you want to downres, 1080. So since I shot 4K, I'll do 2160 by 3840. And there you go. There is your vertical timeline. Now it's easy enough to put vertical footage onto a vertical timeline because you can just drop it in, rotate it 90 degrees, and you're good to go. So essentially what you do is this. You drag it onto your timeline, but you can go over here to transform and change the rotation either 90 degrees or negative 90 degrees. That just depends on the orientation of your camera while you were recording. So since I know I was shooting left, I'll do negative 90 degrees, and there you go. And then scale up to where you're fit in frame. Now what I do is I go just a little bit beyond the border of the 9:16 aspect ratio, just slightly, because I've noticed sometimes when I go right on the border, I get this like weird green line. If y'all have ever seen that and you're like, what is that? This is the way to fix it. Just slightly scale up, just a little more. And there you go, simple as that. Now let's say you're in a situation, which I often find myself in which you have widescreen footage, but you want to add it to an Instagram reel on a vertical timeline. It's important to understand that not all widescreen footage can be implemented onto a vertical timeline. So let's say you're shooting a YouTube video and you want to repurpose some of that content for Instagram Reels or IGTV. Try to know that going into your shoot, and when you do, make sure you shoot within a 10mm to 24mm focal length. For full frame cameras, you can get away with the 35mm focal length, but just barely. So this is some B-roll I just shot behind the scenes of making a little Instagram reel for Joby, and I want to use this clip onto my vertical timeline. Now this was shot in a 35mm focal length, and I was about 5 to 6 feet away from the camera. Now granted, let's say you only got a nifty 50 and you only have a 50mm focal length to work with, just go far away. Make the threshold no more than your waist down. So let's select this clip, drop it onto the timeline here. And as you can see, that obviously is widescreen, so let's do a couple things. Move that timeline up. So we're gonna go to transform here, this little button right here, and we can start by simply scaling it up. As you can see, just by doing that, that works. Now for Final Cut users, this is a lot simpler. With the new 10.5 update, what you're able to do is this. You can select your widescreen clip that's on your timeline, head over to Modify, and simply hit Smart Conform. What this allows Final Cut to do is analyze your footage and applies it to your timeline and kind of does the scaling for you. There's no kinda, it does the scaling for you. So boom, there you go. It's that simple. Now here's some real pro tips. That is a okay shot. I think the composition isn't the best. Here's what you can get away with. You can actually squeeze this footage just a little. Not only does it make me look slimmer, which, hey, I'll take, but it also allows you to get a better composed shot. So if I wanted to do something like this, I can. And that way, my head and my camera represent a vertical third or in the center frame of my vertical timeline. So here's before, and then there's the after. It's very subtle, right? Sometimes you can get away with a little more. But you would not know that I did that unless I'm obviously going crazy like that. That looks a little warped. But I can get away with this, and that looks like a realistic image. Now the other thing that I do, say I want to get some of that Christmas tree as well, I'll add a keyframe. So what I'll do is I'll go here, tap that as one of my keyframes, and then as I go along the shot, let's say about here when I drop my camera, I'll add another keyframe, and then move my frame to get more of the tree. So maybe about there, I can get it all, it looks like. So here's how that looks. So not only do you get me in the full shot, but you also get the subject that I'm shooting, which is the tree, just by adding 2 keyframes. So that's a big pro tip right there, like take notes. Here's another one. Let's go back here to this clip, which was the actual footage that I shot vertically. And what I want to do here is draw attention to the Joby grip tight GorillaPod I just attached to my phone. The zoom technique is so effective, I can't tell you how much it helps. So, going back to keyframes, black that out for now. I'm gonna go ahead and hit transform again, then hit my keyframe, go to the end of the clip, hit another keyframe, and then scale up. I'll even move it a little bit, and let's see how that looks. Beautiful. So you can see I completely drew attention a little bit away from my hand and more so to what I was doing with my hands, which was attaching the grip tight GorillaPod. Something so subtle is so powerful, fam. I can't tell you how much this helps. The point of IGTV, Instagram Reels, just Instagram content in general, is you need to draw your audience into your story, into your subject, and into your overall video. The zoom in technique is a very good way to do that. For more Instagram, IGTV, and Reels tutorials, crush that subscribe button, slap that like button, tickle that notification bell right there. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, DM me, let's connect, and I, my beautiful vert friends, will see you on the next one. I'm out.